Hi, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Michael Yon, and this episode is on Yarkiss Kariss. You've heard Kuntarkis mention him several times in our previous episodes, but it's about time that we do an episode on him because it's going to be very interesting. So I'll start it off in a simple way with a simple question, Kuntarkis. Who is Yarkiss Kariss?
Yarkiss Kariss is my father, my creator, my all. He created me, my sister, and two brothers actually 3.8 million years ago. And when he created us, it was because he was helping a society by the name of the Nar'Karons, the planet called Nar'Karons, which is a little over 417,000 light years from Earth, in another vibration. He spent thousands of years looking at this civilization, and what he discovered, he realized that they were a potential in becoming greater than they are and what they have become. And in that time, they have helped so many other worlds grow beyond what they were and become more loving, no wars, becoming full-on vegetarians, so no animals are ever murdered or slaughtered. So it's changed a lot. Now, when I came in, I had a little over 1,800 lives in incarnations upon my planet, Nar'Karons. And a lot of those lives were to do with technology, the simple atom. My father, Yarkiss Kariss, placed a gift in each one of us. He gave Kanag strength, where he could call on incredible strength and will, and he could drive himself far beyond, even if he's tired, especially in battle, if he's trying to save a world. He gave my little Nar'Karons, who is my son at the moment, who is not quite 5 years of age, he gave Nar'Karons the gift of speed. Not just speed, but the ability to think rapidly and know what he can and cannot do. But if I think back, and I've seen my poor little brother fall in battle quite a few times because he reacted too quickly and never put enough thought into it. Yet he has survived because we, the Nar'Karons, understand the meaning of reincarnation. And we remember every lifetime. It's not that we remember in that present incarnation. We can call upon it whenever we choose to, just by connecting with our cellular strength, our cellular matter, and find out anything we choose. And this is something that I would like to teach humanity. Now, Yarkiss Kariss, I've always wondered how old in evolution he truly is. So I asked my brother Kanag, would you mind, brother, finding out? And he did. And he surprised me because I thought, from what I gathered, around about 2.5 to 5 billion years in evolution. I was close in one way. There is a 5 there, but there's a 1 in front of it. He's actually over 15 billion years old in evolution, in what he has been doing. But he also lived with a society called the Sye'Beck'Yea'Parr. It's actually one word, but I've abbreviated so I pronounce it right. And they live on a planet called Halassa. And that planet at this time no longer exists. Or the planet does, but the civilization died out after 2 billion years of their own evolution. Now, Yarkiss Kariss lived on that planet for nearly 2 billion years, had close to 2,000 incarnations. And what's really interesting is he was very much into technology and the spiritual side of his essence. He always believed that whatever we can think, we also can create. It's like that was a part of his essence for whatever reason.
Hey, what happened to the other beings of his race? What happened to them? Like, if he's evolved beyond, for billions of years, did the others as well, or?
No. And sadly, their whole civilization came to a very, very sad end. Yarkiss Kariss actually saw many, many changes within their society, and he sort of pulled away from it. Now, as I said, their civilization lived and evolved for over 2 billion years. But sadly, there was a massive war upon their planet, all between themselves. And in a long time, throughout their civilization, they became extinct. Only a few survivors left their planet to become explorers, as did Yarkiss Kariss. He decided to go on his greatest journey and become magical.
So he became a fifth dimensional being after being on the planet.
Absolutely. Yes, he became that. Yes.
They would have had great technology if they were 2 billion years old.
Absolutely, yeah. So in reality, he's over 17 billion years old. But 2 billion of those years, he incarnated many, 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 many lives upon their planet. But when he left, he decided not to, because he had the understanding, he had the foresight, he had the will, he had the strength of his imagination and the power of his mind to go beyond what he was, and he became a fifth dimensional being. And from there, 15 billion years later, wow, he actually had 4 essence of himself.
I'm glad you bring that up again, because I'm sure I'm capable of understanding this, but I want to clarify in what way because you've explained the difference between spirit and soul. Like a soul can have several spirits, and the spirits are because and for the soul. But how did it work with you and your brothers and sister? How did he technically do it as far as spirit and soul is concerned?
Okay, just imagine let's say a woman, and she's going to have 4 babies. So inside her womb, they discovered there's not just 1 or 2, there's 3 and 4. So she has the 4 babies, and there's 4. Maybe there's 3 boys and there's a girl. They all have their own spirit. It's an essence, because you don't exist without a spirit. But the difference was, when the 4 of us were brought into reality, we were given his essence. In other words, his spirit. From his essence.
Not his soul.
Not his soul, his spirit. It's like his soul has joined. He is his soul. That's why he became so magical, because he became what everybody talks about. They talk about the soul, but they don't fully comprehend what the essence of the soul is. The soul is almighty magic. It is everything.
And it is not within any dimension. It is beyond.
No, it's beyond everything. It's infinite in its own reality.
Well, I understand that he and his spirit and his essence, his spirit, could at that level of, say, evolution, the spirit could then be, passed on, could be the 4 of you. You would then have his level of evolution within that, his spirit at that time.
In my living energy, my cellular structure, it all exists. Everything that my father Yarkiss Kariss is within every cellular structure of my being. But I have to go through my own evolution to get to where he is today. He had to go through it. And it's a long road in evolution to become what he has become. He's a creator. I mean, he can do anything. He can't die. He exists beyond all things. He's infinite. He can create planets, which he has many, 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 many times over. And it's pretty hard for us, if you want to say as human beings, to comprehend that this one being can do all this. And then they're going to say, well, where's God? So that brings me to my little question, my little answer that Kanar gave me. And I have to read this because this is directly from Kanar, my brother. He says, the Sye'Beck'Yea'Parr had very advanced space travel and were considered gods to many civilizations throughout many universes. And yes, they played on that, especially in the early evolution of humanity. Their ships were massive in size, and their technology was highly advanced in creating what we call holograms of themselves that gave the appearance of them floating on a city, where the locals, being humanity, believed they were supreme beings, godlike figures. That's where all the myths and illusions began throughout human history. So we, as humanity, have been living myths and illusions on knowledge that was created by these so-called gods creating holograms.
My jaw's been dropped. That's amazing. So they were literally here on Earth in
Yes.
the way that you described. Does it ring a bell for you in any of our common mythology, like to some of them that we might be able to connect them with? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Or is it so far back?
there's so much. There's 928,000 years of human history. But what's really interesting is one other thing Kanag said. He said Yarkiss Kariss, throughout his incarnations, advanced beyond his own civilization and became a being that could do the real thing, magic in all reality. So he advanced himself far beyond what they were, but he was very quiet about it. Even though his civilization weren't mongers and cruel, they weren't like murderers and things like that, he could see that having magic created into them could be disastrous for civilizations. So he allowed his civilization to do whatever they wanted to do and advance in whatever they wanted to advance, but he was advancing in another way. And that to him was important. And that's why eventually when he left, there was a massive war upon their planet, all between themselves. Now, what's really interesting about their society, it says that Yarkiss Kariss' society were quite tall individuals, from an average of 12 feet, being 3.66 meters, to 15 feet, that's 4.6 meters in height. The men and women, in most cases, were very strong in body and appearance. Their strength would equal one Sye'Beck'Yea'Parr to around 14 to 15 humans. That's how strong they were. The strength of, say, 15 humans to one of their beings.
Wow.
So that's pretty, quite incredible.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about his body, what about like just the general things? Like, were their bodies very much made up the same way as human bodies?
In appearance, their bodies were very much identical to humans in appearance, but they were tall, and that was the difference there. And you didn't see like many of them. There was a few, but not a lot. They were, how would I put it? They weren't carnivores. They were fruit eaters in a big way. And that's what they sort of lived on, is like fruits. But they had a variety of fruits that you could say that tasted like a piece of meat or looked like a piece of meat.
Wow.
The meat, the fruit itself was solid and dense. And the high protein they had a diet at least 80% in protein and 20% in carbs. And that's how much protein they got out of their fruits, but very different to human fruit. And they didn't grow fruit like we grow fruit here. We grow fruit horribly. We don't do a very good job at all.
What do you mean? Because of the soil, or?
No, it's what we spray and what we do genetically to it. We play. We even freeze green fruit and then we expect it to ripen. I mean, I've noticed nectarines, the last lot of nectarines I've been getting, the last few lots, they're just not ripening and they're rotting before they ripe. That's not right. And they don't have any taste. And that seems to be quite common. And yet, there's a fruit that a lot of people don't eat. And I bought 2 of them, large ones, and they're called dragon fruit. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've never had one, I don't think.
Oh, mate, they're pink. On the outside, their skin is slippery, very, very shiny, and they got little layers on them. And they sell them in Aldi's, they sell them in Coles every so often, sometimes in Woolies. And I noticed these ones there. There's only about 8 of them, and I got 2 of them. They were $4 each. You cut them open, and you can scoop them out or peel them. And inside, it's white flesh, nice and juicy and tasty, and it's got little seeds. Now, in the seeds, that's protein, a natural form of protein. No one tells you this, but I have someone in spirit that is an expert on all protein, all different nutrients. He used to have that in his field when he was alive in his physical life. He's a Japanese guy. He died during the Second World War in Hiroshima. And his family, all his family perished, and he perished.
Ah. So you eat the seeds?
Yes, mate, eat the whole thing. The seeds are like, what's those seeds you put on, I can't think of the name. But anyway, they taste beautiful. The fruit is it's watery, tasty, and very satisfying and also filling. Very high in antioxidants, but also very high in vitamin A, which is a really good thing. And the seeds, as I said, very good source of protein. But their fruits literally help create them to be very muscularly strong.
They also they worked out, I guess.
Oh, yes, they did. They believed in that. Not like we do it here.
Did they fight with swords like your?
Yes, they do. Yes, they never had lasers or bullet guns like we do here on Earth. They didn't have any of that stuff. They were a sword person, just like the Nar'Karons. Now, the Nar'Karons, the only difference is with the Nar'Karons, they have what they call a pulse system, where they shoot a pulse and it disintegrates the atoms of any being.
Yeah, and that's like up on the shoulder, and it can shoot from far away.
Yes.
So does it does it use like what you're focusing on? Does it know what you're looking at so that it shoots that?
It's connected to your consciousness.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so your thought, it's literally tuned into your consciousness. So if you look at someone, right, to shoot, or a group, it'll shoot right at that group.
Wow.
It goes by eyesight and thought. And it shoots from the front as well as behind.
Wow.
And as soon as it hits, the vibration just comes out. And as soon as it hits anything that's solid, it automatically vibrates their cellular structure so badly, so at a speed it's incredible, they literally fall apart into atoms. It's quite ingenious, actually.
And you'd never run out of ammo.
No.
Because it's made out of living energy.
That's right.
It's got
Yeah.
How do I say? Its energy is endless, and yeah. And then you've got your force field as well, right?
That's right, which is made out of an atom to start with. One thing I must say about that's why Yarkiss Kariss actually picked the Nar'Karons as one of the leading civilizations in helping them, because he knew by visual contact that they weren't aggressive in any way towards anyone unless they were going to attack helpless people. And they would step in if they're asked, and they would give them the option. I said that before. They would give the aggressiveness, the aggressive attacker, the option. And if they said, whatever, it wouldn't take much to get rid of them.
Hey, also, you said something really cool, that the Nar'Karons could actually use this technology to project into the future to show the demise of the enemy and say, look, this is what's going to happen to you.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? That's like
that is
futuristic technology.
That's right. It shows them what will come if you don't listen. And I'll be honest with you, I think there was only one civilization that tested them.
What do you mean? Like, they kept going anyway?
They kept going. And the Nar'Karons were there within, say, minutes, because they were already in space. And as soon as they found out they were going to attack, they literally got in front of their ships so quick and gave them one final warning. And they started, and the other aggressive warriors, they started firing at the Nar'Karon ships, which has no effect anyway. And the Nar'Karons just sent out these pulses, and it literally disintegrated their ships and all life forms within it. And their particles just floated in space, which were microscopic. So there was no damage to anyone in space.
Wow. And you're saying all the others were like, oh, if that's what's going to happen to us, then we'll back down.
That's right. Yeah, they backed down. Absolutely.
Well, is it maybe a good time to then go on to talk about how Yarkiss Kariss did come into being with the Nar'Karons and the story of that?
Yes, if you like. Yeah, we can talk a bit about that. Yarkiss Kariss was like an explorer, an adventurist, and he loved what he was about, and he loved doing what he was doing. And he often went into different worlds, and he would take on their form, and he would introduce himself, or he would just observe. And sometimes he would stay amongst that civilization just to see what they are like. If he saw aggressiveness, like, say, here on Earth, then he would quietly vacate the planet and leave it in their own evolution. When he came across the Nar'Karons, he was fascinated. He was literally secretly watching them, probably for about 700, say, earthly years. And naturally, a Nar'Karon lives anything from 450 to 600 years old, if we look at human time. So he would watch them and see how, he even went to some of their wars where the Nar'Karons went to save a planet, and he would watch, observe.
You mean like physically watch?
No, he's physically watching, but he's invisible.
He's invisible, yeah.
He's invisible.
Okay.
He didn't want to reveal himself because he didn't want to cause any problems.
Of course.
So in that case, eventually, there was an actual meeting going on in what they call the large hall, which is at a place that's got this massive dome, and the dome actually goes in between three massive pyramid buildings that stand nearly 3 kilometers high. But this dome stretches way out, and if you got underneath it or inside of it, you could put, like, say, probably 1 million to 2 million Nar'Karons. They would fit. It's that big. And it's very architecturally designed. And who designed it, as I explained to you once before, because they built the pyramids, it was the Ilias. They designed this massive mall where hundreds of thousands daily of Nar'Karons go there to meet and discuss future events and whatever is on their mind. Now, Yarkiss Kariss, he saw all this, and he decided, I think it's time. So he took on the shape of a Nar'Karon, and he got to know different people just by saying good morning, hello.
I'm sure, sorry to interrupt, but I'm sure he would be able to be just the right amount of charismatic. Because he's such an evolved being. His energy would be lovely to be around, surely.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. I wish I had him around me more. He'd come the wild spirit that's within me, I can tell you. Even today, I'm physically 70. I'm a very happy person. I think I'm a very peaceful person, But I have such a strong will that if something is done wrong to innocent people, I really can react. Not in a negative way, it's a positive way, because I'm a great believer that if someone is helpless and they can't protect themselves, then no one on this planet, or any planet, but especially Earth, has the right to harm another. Now, Yarkiss thinks along the same line, but I think I've just got a little bit more gumption when it comes to that.
So when I don't know if you, for an example, you might see something on TV, I imagine that you might react energetically by sending them some love, or is that could that be an example?
I send love to the person that has been harmed. Now, at the moment, Michael, most people, because of the way they live and the way they think and the way they've been so highly conditioned, and also through the media and also through their parents' genetics, I think they're a little bit stunned, and they don't seem to react very much to when innocent people are affected so badly.
Oh, yeah. They become, numb to it.
Numb to it. There's been a lot of really, really nasty murders around Australia over the last probably 7 to 10 years. And it's not good. And there's been a lot of children that, have been sexually molested, and young women raped and all that type of stuff. And on Nar'Karons, and I know this for a fact, they don't have laws like we do here, but they do believe that if a man, or like say a Nar'Karon, actually raped another Nar'Karon woman, they would instantly be vaporized. There's no trial, because they have the equipment to prove it. They just get you to step into this round cylinder and it just proves it, because they can go back and they can see exactly what you did, 24 hours ago, 10 years ago. They pinpoint to when the person was attacked and they see it, the whole thing. That's
from
the
your
evidence.
Genetics, or from your makeup physically.
Yeah, and your brain, your human brain records everything. So they can just literally lock into it with living energy and record it and bring it out and see it. And as soon as they see that person, that Nar'Karon, if it was the case, they're vaporized the same day, as if they never existed. Because they don't believe in having such nastiness within a society. And they definitely don't believe in prisons. And they don't believe in law that protects the guilty. Where we do on this planet, which is really sad.
And so how would you positively react when you find out about one of these examples?
I would instantly send divine love to the being that has just lost their life or their child. But to the attacker, if my abilities were open, I would literally just send a wave of energy and dissolve them.
Yeah.
Unbiasedly.
You're so nice.
Yep. They wouldn't exist anymore, and nor would their memories from all their incarnations. So they could never reincarnate again with that type of disease.
And karmically, you're able to withstand taking that action.
There's no karma with a Nar'Karon.
With yourself doing it too.
Yes, absolutely, because it's justice. It's real justice.
Wow.
It's not that Nar'Karons believe in an eye for an eye. They believe in the balance of the universe. And wherever there is evil, it must be eliminated.
So getting back to Yarkiss Kariss, actually found this planet quite positive.
Yes. And what he did, he created, he spoke to different people, and people actually really liked the way he spoke. And he was speaking about things like, he said, do you find quiet time? He said, I find a lot of quiet time. And they would ask, what do you mean by your quiet time? And he says, I find by stilling the mind of who I am, I can answer any questions that actually bother me. And I can find the balance within myself. Well, naturally, he's talking about meditation. Stilling the mind is also a term that I use because I think I used it, I think because my father used it so often, and it's instilled within me. So I just call it either creative meditation or creative techniques or just place meditation. And he would say these kind of words to them, and they would find it very interesting. And one day he got to meet this person through another being, and the being said to him, look, he said, we're not sure who you are, but I'm very impressed from what so-and-so was saying about you. And we had this really big talk coming on about these specific subjects. And from what I gather, you would be the right person to actually express them. Would you be willing to do that? And he would always say, yes, I would. That's how he would answer. Yes, I would. You know, like me, I say absolutely. But he says, yes, I would. So he did his first talk as an Nar'Karon.
Now, before you go on, what time was this as it relates to the 27 million year evolution of the Nar'Karons?
Okay, let's take it roughly. There's no way of pinpointing an exact time because there's no time factor out there. But I'm 3.8, say 3 million years in evolution. It would roughly be another 700,000 years upon that.
Before that, you're saying?
That's right. Before I became into existence and my two other brothers and sister.
So like 4 million years ago?
No, it would roughly be 4 million, about 4.5 million years ago.
Right.
Yeah, roughly around about that time, 4.5 million years ago.
Had they already figured out free energy?
Yes.
They'd already figured that out.
Their evolution in technology grew very quickly because they discovered living energy a little over 3.2 million years into their evolution. And that was on their first planet because they created their own force fields back then, but weren't 100%. Eventually, an enemy would break in if they did constant bombarding. So they were already very highly advanced in technology. I mean, you look at humanity. It's only in the last 300 years, basically, that we've grown.
Yeah.
And yet we've been here for 928,000 years. So that's a bit strange.
So he was asked, he said, I would. What did he say? I would like to.
Yes, I would.
Yes, I would.
That's right. Yes, I would. So he gave his talk. It impressed the council members so much because it impressed the entire audience so much that there was so much talk going on over the next, say, 2 to 3 to 4 weeks of their factor in time, that he was asked if he would be willing to go to each city where his accommodation he would have free, everything would be arranged for him. And he said, yes, I would. That's all he said.
Yeah.
And over the next probably 7,000 years of evolution with the Nar'Karons, he was on that planet going around the entire planet and giving different talks to very, very large audiences. I'm talking like, 300,000-400,000 at one time.
Was there anyone that was threatened by him due to fear?
No.
No.
They welcomed him so much. There was not one negative person. Because you've got to understand that the Nar'Karons, when they eventually, after 13 million years, left their original planet, which was called Nar'Karons, they were so highly advanced in their own technology, in their own spiritual self. But when Yarkiss came onto the scene, his spiritual awareness was like pouring honey all over your body and just enjoying the slippery movements.
Okay, then. Good example.
Good example. So he loved it. They loved it.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, they really started to listen to his knowledge. And they wanted more and more. And that's when it was announced over the entire planet. And he was present at that, how would you say, what would you call it?
Ceremony?
Not so much ceremony, that release of knowledge that, say, the high chairman was going to speak about to the entire planet in one go. And what they said, we as a people must advance not only in technology, not only in our spiritual self, but we must advance in our mind structure. And that's what Yarkiss Kariss was teaching, that the soul is your direct link to your mind. And your mind is your direct link to your human brain, as well as your body, as well as your etheric, as well as your emotional body, as well as your spiritual body. The people of Nar'Karons wanted it. There was a voting system electronically, and there wasn't one Nar'Karon at that time that would have voted against it.
Wow.
And the whole purpose was to grow consciously in thought and then pass that same knowledge through your genetics directly into your children.
Hey, so yeah, I know that's a big part of it and a great investment. I just wonder, did the Nar'Karons know before him about the idea of becoming fifth dimensional and so on?
No.
No, so he would have taught them that.
He taught them that.
And that would have been a great reason. I mean, did he say to them within this period, and say before this vote was the case, did he say, by the way, guys, I'm like several billion years old and this is what you can have? He didn't say that?
No, he did down the track.
Yeah, down the track.
And that's what I was getting to,
but
yes.
Oh, sorry. But he would have said, look, you can evolve beyond your physical bodies. That's what comes next. Yes. And I can help you do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when they all agreed to it, the sad part is naturally, down the track, 928,000 years ago, there were a group of Nar'Karons that didn't want to change. And there was just over 87,000. And the Nar'Karons tried every way possible to ask them, because you had to agree, no one is forced to do anything when it comes to the Nar'Karon world. You're asked. And you're asked again and again and again. If you feel that you're not sure, they will give you the moments in time to consider it and then make your decision. But the whole point was, for every Nar'Karon to grow in a positive way, every Nar'Karon had to just make that decision to want to change. So every generation, from generation to generation, and for the next, say, 100,000 years, it's all the same thing. We're all growing consciously with the same form of understanding, the same form of knowledge. It's not conditioning. It's infinite knowledge that Yarkiss Kariss was giving to the Nar'Karons. And they all agreed except for that 87,000. So that 87,000 were left because they all left the cities and they all congregated into one place. And they even built these massive walls around their own little city.
Really?
They did. That's so they couldn't be interrupted in what they wanted to do in a negative way in their own isolation. And that's where they were given the opportunity to grow beyond. And what's really interesting, only 7 of the over the 87,000 actually left there and came and asked for help. Only 7. And what's more interesting, it was a family.
Wow.
Like, in other words, two brothers that had their wives and their children, that type of thing.
Wow.
But they wanted to grow. They decided that what that other group was about was negative, and because they've listened to what Yarkiss Kariss was saying, they wanted to grow and learn.
Can you just give a couple examples of what negativity they were?
Oh, they were they were smokers. Yes, they smoked this unusual tobacco, which seems to be quite a common practice on many, many planets. And most Nar'Karons never, ever got involved in that type of thing, ever. But there was a majority of them that did, and it was in this 87,000. So they would actually have their own liquids that, how would you say, yes, in a way it made them a little bit senseless and drunk, where they would take Pasaki purple tea and put spices in it to sort of send them on like a little trip, make them feel better. So they were involved in that. They weren't involved in rape, murder, any of those violent crimes. That wasn't a part of what they were. But they didn't believe in somebody outside coming in and saying you have to change and then have your family changed by your genetics. Their egos were too strong for that, so they didn't want that. So that's why they were left there, and they felt insecure, so they end up building this massive wall around their own little city outside of the Nar'Karon city, which was the main city. And all of them were placed into that. That was given to them, that whole entire area, and that's when they built their own wall. The city was already there. It was provided for them.
It was already there?
Yeah, it was provided, yes. Yeah, the Nar'Karons built it.
What built it for them?
Yes, the Nar'Karons knew how many that would be, so they actually built them so they were comfortable and everything. They were very generous in that area. And they even supplied Hummers to actually come and supply all their food. They brought all their food for them, so it wasn't as if they left them alone.
Yeah, and this is in a moneyless state.
Totally money there. No monetary system whatsoever. None. Never has been. Yarkiss Kariss also explained that about, that's why he actually picked their society. That was one of the reasons, because there was no greed. There was no lust. There was no vindictiveness. There was no murder, no rapes. There wasn't a sexual problem, perverted. And you got to admit, if you look at planet Earth and if you look around the societies and if you look what's happening with the kidnapping of young boys and young girls and what they're doing to them, I mean, they are sick and they need to be vaporized off this planet to help and to allow humanity to grow consciously, because that's what life is all about. It's about growing consciously. It's not about living in your emotions. It's not about what Fred is doing next door, that he's got more than you. It's not about being better by having a bigger car than the person down the road, or a bigger house, or more money in the bank. That's where the illusion is of life. And you know the reason why it's so noticeable? Because everyone that tries to live like that is hurting inside really bad, because they are emotionally unbalanced. And it doesn't make sense, Michael. Where the Nar'Karons, they've never been like that. They believe in growth. So they were left alone by themselves, those 87,000, to contemplate. In that road, on the other hand, Yarkiss Kariss guided the entire planet through meditations over this incredible indoor type of
sound system.
Sound system, yes. And it literally went over the entire planet. And he did this for years and years and years. And he talked about different subjects for years and years and years. And he spoke about the real magic of life. and how we actually consciously have the ability to fly.
Wow.
We can literally talk ourselves into a state of inner awareness and allow ourselves to become weightless. We have the ability to manifest through thought consciousness because we're all connected to the same energy, living energy, and everything is manifested from this energy. And that's what Yarkiss Kariss has been doing for 15 billion years, is using living energy to create worlds.
Wow. Did you have any idea maybe how many worlds he's created?
Yes, I do actually. It's a little over 103 or 104, I think, somewhere in that vicinity.
Wow.
In that time. It's not as if he goes around creating worlds, because a lot of worlds are created by other beings. There are other beings like him. I've never met them except for Taikani.
Who's a seventh dimensional being?
Yes. Taikani.
Friend of Yarkiss Kariss.
Yeah, he's a personal friend, yes. Yarkiss Kariss has known him for a very long time, and he's actually guided him. He actually saved his life, and I think I expressed that. He saved his life in battle. He was about to die. Yarkiss Kariss was watching the battle, and he was just thinking to himself, how gruesome these beings are. That this being that I'm looking at has to fight for his life and his family's life to survive. So he drew him out.
Wow.
His family was going to die anyway, no matter what. And he would have died no matter what. He could only save him because he saw something in Taikani that he saw within himself when he lived on his own planet.
Yeah. Hey, I want to dig deeper with this. How many more incarnations did Taikani have after Yarkiss Kariss was there at the battle?
Michael, I'm sorry, I cannot answer that question.
No. That was, well, no, I'm sorry. That was too specific of a question. But the thing is, he did have many incarnations afterwards.
Yes.
Was Yarkiss Kariss somehow a guidance throughout all of them, or?
Absolutely.
He was.
He took him on as a student because he saw in him, as I said, what he actually felt and saw within himself. He saw the potential.
Yes, so Yarkiss Kariss would present himself physically.
Yes.
Life after life next to this guy, saying, yeah, you can grow. Oh, I like it.
And he also gave him the ability to remember all his incarnations.
Wow.
And that's why he could grow. Now, the problem is because we're so negative in our reality on this planet, because of all the wars we've created, and every single human on this planet has murdered thousands of people over 928,000 years. We're forced into it, Michael. We're forced into it by warmongers, people who want to dominate, people who want to control. They're all the same. They're a dime a dozen. And there's all these dictators all over the world who want to dominate and use people against themselves and make them just like that, just like he is or she is.
Wow.
And until we dissolve all that and dissolve the enemy that is within our own being, we will never know the truth, the reality of what and who we are. We will continue to live the record that's caught in the track, and it can't get out of that one track. Circumstances change, yes, but life goes on the same. And that's sad.
Yeah, it's sad. It reminds me, there are some people that do believe they have a connection to some past life, and it seems to be, I think you've even said this yourself, it seems to become a bit of a theme in their life that doesn't really help.
No, it actually is a negative. You know why? It's because of their current level of thinking. And they can't seem to grow beyond what they are because they keep repeating the same issues. You know, it's like saying, and this is so true, I just wish people could see this 100%. You know all the people that died in the First World War, right? Let's just say Australians, for instance. A lot of Australians died in the First World War. A lot of them were sent to their death knowingly.
Wow.
That's a crime in itself. All those people are alive today.
Wow.
Okay? All the people that died in the Second World War worldwide are all nearly alive today.
Wow.
And that's what happened. That's reincarnation. You die in one lifetime because of its violence. But the problem is, if you don't deal with your pain of death and how you died emotionally, it's in your cellular memory. And when you live another life through circumstances or the parents you come through can activate that fear, that pain, and your character can be out of place. And you can create situations that literally is detrimental to your current life and future.
We need multiple Kuntarkises and multiple Yarkiss Karisses.
Yeah.
One each for every person.
Yeah. My father would have a great laugh over that one. He would laugh and laugh and laugh. I must admit that. He has a great laugh, you know that?
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely a great laugh. Yes. Yes. When he laughs, he laughs.
Well, maybe this is a good time to ask you of any other unique stories about Yarkiss Kariss.
Oh. Now that's an interesting one because, see, I'm a great believer in respect, and I never really asked Father about his personal existence. See, like tonight, I asked Kanag, and Kanag says, oh yeah, I will contact Father and see what he says. Well, he contacted Father, and Father sent through what he felt was needed that was being asked, and Kanag sent it over to me. And now I read it to you, which goes on to Skype and will go on to the podcast, and then people will listen to it. And then people will talk to their friends and say something positive or something negative, and it'll go on and on and on. Isn't that interesting?
The end.
The end.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. When I asked that question, I fully thought you were prepared to share a couple of stories.
I do have one.
Excellent.
Yes, I do have one. Yes. Okay, give me a moment. Yes. I just got to get the points right. I don't know how long ago this actually happened, but Father was on a planet, and he went to a planet, and he went and spoke to what they call is the rightful man. They call it the rightful man.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure the word was man, but I'll have to go with that. The rightful man is like a mayor or a politician, a leader. You'd have to speak to the rightful man. That was their terminology. And Father was a little bit curious about this, and he made sure that everything was right with him, whether he was protected or not protected, whatever. And when he was taken in, it took him, like, if you look at hours, about 2 hours to get in to see this rightful man. And eventually, when he got in, this rightful man was speaking to about 3 or 4 other people with his back turned to Yarkiss Kariss. And he never said a word. And for nearly another 50 minutes, let's say, this man was speaking to these other people with his back towards Yarkiss Kariss.
Sanskrit again?
Yes.
Just clarifying, it's all in Sanskrit.
Yes. Yeah. And when I say Sanskrit, what I'm saying to you is that my father heard it in Sanskrit because that's how he would have perceived it. The language that they were speaking was another language.
Oh, he had like a filter in his consciousness.
Yes.
Cool.
A filter in his consciousness. So everything that was said was being recorded within his own consciousness, his own cellular memory. But it came over as Sanskrit, which is interesting. Anyway, eventually this guy stopped talking, this male. And he stood there after these 3 people just walked away and they kept their heads down, never even looked at Yarkiss Kariss. The guy suddenly turned very slowly and said, "You're still here." And Yarkiss looked at him and said, "Yes, I am." And the guy said, "What do you want to see me about?" And he says, I have a proposition for you. And he said, what is that? I want you to stand down. That's what Yarkiss Kariss said to him. And the guy looked at him, and the guy moved around his unusual looking chair, and he sat down with his hands on the table. Like in front of him was a white table, pure white table. And he said, what do you mean you want me to stand down? Stand where? That's what the guy said to him. And he said, you are not the right man for what you are doing to the people. The people that you represent are suffering. So I'm asking you to step down. And the guy looked at him and said, just a moment. And he literally clapped his hands. And in came these like warriors of these unusual type of long-bladed pole swords. And they stood around Yarkiss Kariss. And then this guy said to Yarkiss Kariss, do you have a weapon on you? And he said, no, I don't carry weapons. And the guy then said to him, then why do you want me to stand down again? Because you do not serve the people the way they should be served. You see, the people are the power. You are simply the one that controls the power to what they ask you to do. And the guy started laughing his head off. And he said to the to one of the type guards, he said, eliminate him, take him out the back and eliminate him. And they went to grab him, they couldn't grab him. Their arms, whatever they were doing, were going straight through his body. And the guy just sort of sat back in his chair and he said, what are you? He said, I am something that you do not play around with. I will give you another chance. I am asking you to step down. You are not the right man to serve the people. And the guy looked at him and said, I will never stand down. I am the power, and that's that. Yarkiss Kariss raised his hand, and all that could happen was this little ball of light came out of his hand. And the guy watched it, and it came over to him, and it went straight into his mouth. And he said, now you will stand down. And within a moment, the guy went bright red, and he literally vaporized in front of Yarkiss Kariss and the 4 guards. And the 4 guards went to the side to face Yarkiss Kariss, and they turned around and bowed, and they said, thank you. Will you become the right man? And he said, no, but I have someone that will. And he said, she is at the door. And they looked at him, and one of them walked over to the door, opened the door, and there was this lady standing there. And Yarkiss said, please come in, dear lady. And she walked in, and she said, what am I doing here? And he looked at her and he said, you are now elected as the right woman to run this world. There is your seat. It is ready for you. And the look on her face was just mind-blowing. And she went around to the chair and she sat in the chair and she looked at the 4 guards and she said, you do not need to be here, please. Please leave. And they instantly chopped their feet together, like clapped their heels together or something, and they left the room. And Yarkiss looked at her and he said, it is about time, is it not? And she said, yes. And Yarkiss Kariss disappeared right before her. And she became the right woman for her world, to rule the people on her world. That's how he works.
Yeah, that's how he works. And that's actually creating a lot of good, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's creating the balance. You must get rid of the garbage that does not wish to change. And you must allow the people who want to change to grow, so they have the opportunity to pass on that same loveliness in genetics to their children. And that's how a world grows. It grows in compassion, it grows in unconditional love, it grows in wisdom and understanding. We all believe then that any reality can become the truth.
This concludes part 1 of Yarkiss Kariss. If you'd like to contact us for any reason, simply email kuntarkis@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, you can find him at etcconsciousness.com. And now, stay tuned for part 2.